From holding roundtables to weekly press conferences all across the state, the pandemic certainly has kept Florida's governor busy as we continue to look to rebound from COVID-19 and move through the pandemic. Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders looks further into who the governor has met with the most and just how often.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Almost every day, state officials publish Governor Ron DeSantis' schedule. They pop into inboxes of email accounts across the state. We went through all of them since the governor declared COVID-19 a public health emergency March 1. Now, as a caveat, we're not counting any press conferences that DeSantis might have had with these officials, just face-to-face meetings as well as phone calls. He may have spoken to them outside of what's on the schedule, but without a record, we can't count it. One big standout, the number of press conferences DeSantis has done, at least 140 around the state. Many of them roundtables with experts supporting his COVID actions, but they're not ideal for journalists.
They only allow for a certain amount of time for question and response. There are multiple journalists trying to ask questions, talking over each other, so they're a bit chaotic at times. They're not the opportune format for really digging down.
South Florida political communications expert Josh Scacco says politicians use news briefings like the governor's to control the message.
They can use these press conference formats to be able to telegraph an image of quote unquote accessibility without the corresponding potential of accountability and depth.
Scacco says one-on-ones are a much better way to get that accountability. The governor's done quite a few, 32 by our count, but most are often with one outlet, Fox News, and conservative hosts like Sean Hannity. Local press getting only 11 exclusive interviews, most focused on hurricanes. Speaking of storms, the agency head DeSantis spoke with most often, Emergency Management Director Jared Moskowitz, showing up 88 times on the schedule. Surgeon General Scott Rivkees is next, dialing in or meeting DeSantis 69 times. Medicaid Chief Mary Mayhew 26 times, and John Satter, who's been handling unemployment, 21 times.
You do have a demand there.
That's nearly as many meetings or calls DeSantis has had with President Donald Trump, the fellow Republican showing up 19 times on the governor's schedule, more than Secretary of State Laurel Lee at 14, and more than twice as often as Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran. DeSantis has met with a slew of other officials, too, including politicians, corporate leaders, and more. He also often clocks hours on the weekend. His schedule is making at least one thing very clear: the pandemic has kept him busy. At the Capitol, Forrest Saunders, WPTV News Channel 5.